All right, to do this assignment, you're going to need Fusion 360. You're also going to need the Dremel 3D printing slicer. You can just do a search for Dremel slicer, download that software, and set it up with a 3D 4.5 printer. We'll get to that in a bit. I'm going to start off in Fusion with this model. It's 2 inches by 2 inches by 1/4 of an inch, and there are some initials in the front. The first thing I want to do is change these initials to mine. So down here, we've got different sketches. I'm going to right-click on that second sketch, edit the sketch. I'm going to select those initials, double-click on them. Up here, I'm going to put in my initials. And I'm going to go ahead and grab a different font. Maybe that one. And I'm going to change the character height so that it fits a little better. I like that. I click OK, finish sketch. Now, these initials are extrude cut in 1/10 of an inch. When we mill this, it actually won't be forming that geometry. Rather, it'll take the surface geometry and use an engraving algorithm to cut the letters out with a tapered end mill. I'm going to drop down Design and go to Manufacture, and that process is all set up here. And in fact, if I right-click on this setup and select Simulate, press play, we can see that happening, except that it's still using the old initials, JMU. I'm going to exit simulation, drop down this setup, this engrave, I'm going to right-click on it and edit it. I'm going to come over to Geometry, click the X beside that, and then click Select. So I want to be selecting not geometry down inside the part, but just right here on the surface. And I want to select that line around these 3 letters. Click OK. It's created a new toolpath. Now I can right-click on Setup, click Simulate, and see that it's doing the initials that I want. I'm going to exit simulation, right-click on Setup, and click Post-Process. I want to use a machine configuration, so I'm going to select that, and up here I want to choose from library. You may not have this recent one in there. I'm going to do a search for Tormach, and I'm going to select the Tormach 1100M. Download the model, save. Now I have that machine in there. The program name or number, I'm going to enter something for that. I'm going to say open NC file in editor just so that you can see that, but you don't need to do that. And then you can see here, make sure you take note of the output folder where this is going to be saved. I'm going to go ahead and change that to the desktop. And click Post. Download Visual Studio. I'm going to cancel that. It opened this in WordPad. Any text editor can read it. You can see we've got some setup information here, and then we have this engrave operation. Goes on for many lines. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And I can look on the desktop to find the NC file that was generated. So that would be taking a piece of material, perhaps aluminum, 2 inches by 2 inches by 1/4 of an inch, and engraving this in it with this end mill. If I want to 3D print this, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go back to design. It's going to 3D print as drawn. with that 0.1 inch extrude cut into the surface. I'm going to click Utilities, Make. I'm going to make sure Send to 3D Print Utility is not selected. I'm going to select this. The format I'm going to make sure is STL, ASC2. I drew this in inches, so instead of millimeters, I'm going to put that as inches and say OK. It's going to save this as body 1. I'm going to have it on the desktop. I could change this name if I wanted to. I'm going to click Save. I need to overwrite because I already had a file by that name. I'm going to go to the Dremel Digilab 3D Slicer, click File, Open Files, and select this. Now you may run into the problem where even though you specified the units correctly, the model is very small. Go ahead and select the model, click on Scale, and you want to change, in this case, from millimeters to inches. So we're going to have 25.4 times 100%. And there the object is the size that we want. Now I'm going to click on Rotate, and I'm going to rotate the object 90 degrees. If you want to, you can also move the object. Under Material, I'm going to select PLA. For Profile, I'm going to go with low quality so that it prints faster. Infill, I'm going to do 20%. This does not need support, so I'm going to deselect Generate Support and Prepare. And so this will print in about 33 minutes using about 9 grams of material. To look at what that looks like, I'm going to click on Layers. And zooming in here, this is 21 layers. It slices into layers. There's the first layer. You can see the infill pattern that it's putting in there. Then it starts forming the initials and up to the top layer. Now I can save this to a file, or if I put in a USB drive, I can save it onto the USB drive and then put the USB drive into the 3D printer to print this.